They say that the human race is doomed, that we have lost touch with our true nature, that the media has corrupted us, and that the planet has no future. I disagree. I believe that humanity is full of hope, and that our salvation lies within each one of us. My name is Brian Rose, and my job is to listen, the oldest method of learning known to man. Each week I seek out individuals that are changing the world, people who are living and thinking in a different way. Their stories will challenge your beliefs, make you question your choices, and perhaps inspire you to change. I never planned on doing any of this, but now I can't stop. Join me on this mission and make humanity something we can all be proud of.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Gene Shu, recent graduate of our Broadcast Yourself Accelerator. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. So excited to be here. I'm in the chair.
You are, man.
I'm in the chair.
Legendary.
Yeah, I've seen this picture on video so many times, you in the suit, and now I'm live, so this is surreal.
It's great having you here.
Yeah.
Tell the people a bit about you. Where are you from? What do you do?
Well, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. For the global audience, that's the southern city in the south of the United States. And I grew up in a time when there were very few Asians. From kindergarten through like 10th grade, there was not another Asian person in my entire school. So that's the environment in which I grew up. And I was an only child. And my parents, my father's a professor in physics. He took a one-year sabbatical when I was in the 3rd grade, and he went to Taiwan to teach physics. So I was taken out of the school system and I was dropped into the school system in Taiwan. And back then I hated it because you didn't want to leave your childhood friends, you don't want to leave your classmates, and you definitely didn't want to go to a foreign country. I mean, Taiwan to me was a foreign country. And I was put into the school system and I learned how to speak Mandarin Chinese. And fast forward to today, and this is what I specialize in. I've been working in Asia and China for the last 20 years as somebody who's fluent in Mandarin Chinese, which really helps me understand the nuances of why most foreigners find it so difficult to succeed in China. I mean, maybe they have products and technologies that work really well and that the Chinese really want, but ultimately the personal relationships that they develop with other Chinese people, and especially with the people that report directly to them, it's just they don't understand how the Chinese people think. And that's become my area of expertise, helping executives navigate the complexities of doing business in China, but generally in all foreign cultures where the value systems are different, the language is different, the culture is different, what people care about is different. And you know, that's the interesting about this class. You have such a global audience that I'm meeting all my classmates here and everybody comes from a different country. Everybody comes from a different country. Everybody has a different value system and a reason for broadcasting. But you've been able to find this kind of common bond that brings people together and gives them additional motivation to do more. So that's what's really great about this course. I mean, I've taken other master classes where you can engage with people in chat, but you don't have the live calls. You don't break them up into teams, and you don't have that personal connection. I mean, I don't think you invented an accountability doc, but the accountability doc isn't what keeps you accountable. It's your connection with other people. For some people is, I don't want to let other people down. For some people, it's embarrassing if I don't do my work. But you know, everybody has a different reason. But I think the overarching thing is the human connection keeps you moving and keeps you moving forward. And that was the hardest part for me because I've been living in China, in Shanghai, for like the last 7 years. And then last year, I decided that it's time to come back to the US. So I quit my business in China. I was a cross-cultural performance trainer, coach, and consultant. I taught classes, I ran workshops and events. My wife was employed, and both of us literally just decided that there's no perfect time to move back. Either we do it or we just wait, and we'll never get back to the US. So we just decided we're going back to the US, and we packed our bags. So literally, we've been living in Shanghai for 7 years. And we came back basically with just 2 suitcases. Because when we went over there, I went over to China as an expat. That means business class, full relocation, you got the company car and everything. And when we came back, I had already started doing my own thing. So I was a bootstrapped entrepreneur. We basically came back with just 2 suitcases, 2 carry-ons, and that's it. And one of my suitcases was a guitar. So I essentially only had 1 suitcase of personal effects. We moved back to the US, we're both technically unemployed. And we just started our lives again last year.
And so why take this course now? Why decide to start broadcasting?
Well, it's a combination of things, but you have to keep in mind the context. So when I was doing everything in Shanghai, there's no Facebook, there's no YouTube, there's no Instagram, there's no Snapchat. Anything connected with social media, except for LinkedIn, is blocked in China. Okay, so I had not been on Facebook for 7 years. And when I came back to the US and I started thinking, well, how am I going to meet people and make business connections, even personal connections in general? So the first thing I did was, the only thing I knew was hosting events. So I I rented a desk at WeWork and started making connections. And all the people that you talk about now as influencers and people that everybody knows, I had never heard of them. I mean, somebody says, oh, you should probably listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. I was like, who? I never heard of Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, who the hell is that? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't watching YouTube videos. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't doing all this.
Okay.
And I started off hosting events, but you can only build so big of an audience if you're doing it all organically. There's no online to offline. There's no O2O. For me, it was just events. It worked pretty well in Shanghai because you have 30 million people in a small space, and I had marketing people that were doing promotions on WeChat and the Chinese social media. So we grew pretty well organically. We grew to like 9,000 members. We hosted over 200 events in like 3 years, which wasn't bad. But I wasn't able to monetize anything because events really, you don't make money with events. For me, I had the long-term view.
Right.
So I was trying to build an audience, but doing it without social media, doing it without a digital marketing program, doing it without an email list, it's almost impossible.
Very hard. And so why join our Broadcast Yourself course?
So it was the logical next step. So I was already starting to do some stuff with YouTube. I had already actually launched a free online course called China Business 101 and 7 Common Engagements. But through the limited following that I had, it was promoted through all my social media channels. I had less than 30 people registered for a free course that I spent 2 months developing, recording videos, editing them on iMovie and putting it out myself with PowerPoint animation, all that stuff. And it was a free course and I had less than 30 people sign up. And then somebody had sent me a video of yours. So I got on your mailing list and I joined your workshop challenge, the 5-day challenge, the free thing.
Okay.
And from that, I interviewed my first guest.
Yeah, I think I remember this.
Yeah, I interviewed my first guest, and then you did the live coaching call where it was kind of like the final, do you want to join me and take it to the next level, and we'll walk you step by step through 8 weeks. And I was like, this is it. Because it's not just having a podcast on YouTube or a podcast on iTunes, it's getting out of what you call resistance, but me being aware that I'm not comfortable in front of a camera. I'm not comfortable recording myself. I'm actually really good live and unscripted in front of an audience when I'm the keynote speaker. But when I turn the camera on myself and I try to say something, it's awful. It's awful. In fact, it's everything that you described when you first began your journey, right? So I experienced it. It's almost like you were talking to me. That's why this is so weird. You don't know me, or you maybe know me a little bit now, but you don't know me, but I feel like I know you because I see you every day and I'm watching your videos. And you are exactly like you are when you're interviewing Gary Vaynerchuk. So I feel like I could be in a dream and I could wake up, but you know.
You do know me. That's the thing. If you put out enough content when you broadcast, and you're going to know this really soon, is that they do know you.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about this medium, you know, and they connect with you.
Everything that you say is right on point. So I'm an executive coach. So I coach executives on how to do business in China. And I mentor a lot of people, a lot of students actually. And a lot of the things that we talk about aren't always directly related to business. They're related to life, and then how life ties into business, and how you have to be consistent with who you are. And so the things that you talk about, it's not like I didn't know them before you said them, but you connected them together in a way that meant something to me. And so whenever you pay for something, so the full 8-week course obviously is not free, and it shouldn't be free. Once you pay for something and you're engaged with something, you kind of have an expectation of what's going to happen. And because I pride myself in kind of having a lot of awareness, including situational awareness and understanding the context of what people are selling and what they're doing. And when I decided to take this course, of course, I had a certain expectation. And this is one of the rare situations where I can say that you actually either met my expectations or you exceeded them. And I pay for other courses. I'm not going to name them here, but I pay for other digital marketing courses. And that's why initially, when you tried to get me through your email marketing to do the Business Accelerator, I said, well, I did the exact same thing last year. So I know all the concepts. I know about landing pages and autoresponders and lead magnets. I know about all that stuff. But having paid for that other course, I never really put my stuff together. Because putting your stuff together isn't just knowing the mechanics of what to do. Putting your stuff together is defining who you are, knowing who your audience is, and crafting a message that will resonate with them.
And you had some success doing that. And I remember you telling the whole call a couple times about this amazing conversation you had with one of your guests who had traveled into town, and you got an amazing result out of that. Tell me, how was it when you actually got on the ground and the rubber hit the road and you were out there broadcasting?
Well, that's exactly it. So when we do business in China, we talk about generally being humble and low key. So that's kind of become my natural personality. So I don't like to really be out there. And it's almost like it's better if you come to me and you want to do something with me as me trying to sell you. Once I got published on iTunes and I had something of value to offer a potential guest, and I started going through my 25 target people and I started emailing them, it was really surprising that almost everybody responded. And almost everybody said yes, even though it wasn't right away. It was like, maybe I'll have some time in June, which is perfect. Because when I first contacted them, I wasn't as polished as I am now. And I can only imagine, it's like you said, I have 11 episodes now, but by the time I have 100 episodes, I can't imagine how polished I'm going to be and how many guests I'm going to be able to attract. But yeah, it truly is opening doors for people who know where they want to go. So I've always known exactly where I want to go when I quit my job, stopped being an employee, and started becoming an entrepreneur. I always knew where I wanted to go. And I had the wrong balance. So I talk about balance. So my balance was not going for money, being authentic, and not worrying about revenue and building the audience first. But the way that I was doing it was just too slow. I couldn't reach anybody by just hosting events.
Yeah.
And basically the missing piece, well, there's a lot of missing pieces, but the first piece is like the beachhead. The beachhead was the London Real Academy Broadcast Yourself Network. Landing on this beachhead that you've created has really opened the door for what I'm going to do next. And I'm always eternally positive and optimistic because I think that mindset is really important for business, especially if you want to attract partners and guests and stuff like that. And it's, you can be optimistic with no plan and no vision. But now I'm optimistic and it's clear because I can see how it's like seeing the connections moving forward. When you look back, you can see how everything in your life connected to where you are today. And sometimes it's not so easy to see how these dots will connect into the future to get you where you want to go. And this experience is kind of like setting me on a new journey. I mean, you talk about journeys all the time. I mean, this is like it's like a fork in the road. I met Brian Rhodes in the London Real Academy, and then suddenly I'm on this new journey. And the possibilities are unlimited. I mean, just the people that I'm meeting here, we're forming our own tribe because the teams are going to have monthly meetings, and I've been selected as a team leader, so I'm going all in on leading this group that I've spent 8 weeks with to deliver value to them so we can help each other on this journey. I call it JTS. Our new tribe is called JTS, Journey Towards Success.
I love it.
And that is what we're going to do. And
what are these people like? How would you describe them to other people? And this
the people on my team?
Yeah, the whole community, the whole London Real Academy that went with you on the broadcast yourself.
Well, it's just amazing that you can tell that when people join the course, everybody kind of has an idea of what they want to do, but 90% of the people, I would say, don't really know. They don't know what their mission in life and business is. And they just think that this could be something that is an integral part of the next step in whatever they want to do, their professional careers, their entrepreneurial careers, their business, or whatever. And they all come in with different expectations. And they all come in with different types of resistance. Like some people who came into the course, they were really skilled at digital marketing, so they didn't have any technical resistance. But it's not enough. Just to be able to know how to do it isn't enough. You still have to create something that other people care about, right? And I think that's the amazing thing that I've observed of what you've been able to do is you've been able to essentially create something from nothing. I mean, you've built an audience that has nothing to do with your original jiu-jitsu, right? And now it's like you're leading people, you're inspiring people, and it's ultimately what you say. It's not, everybody says it, but you're one of the few people that I think really is genuinely changing people's lives.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that.
I actually didn't think at my age, because I'm your age, I actually didn't think another person I didn't know could have that big of an impact. Because I have my experience doing business all over the world, you know, and I thought that I'm pretty much, you know, it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. You know, I'm pretty set in my mindset, even though I'm open-minded to new things. But I pretty much think I know how things work. But what I added on top of that is a level of awareness that it doesn't matter how much I know. There is always something that I need from someone else. And Brian Rose in the London Real Academy just happened to be, it's almost like serendipity. It was like, I discovered you at the perfect time. You know, if I would have discovered you when I first came back to the US, I probably would have ignored it.
Yeah, it would have been too soon.
Yeah.
What did you struggle with on the course? What was hard?
And that's just what I tell other people on my team, is the course itself for me wasn't that difficult, okay? The part that I struggle with most is, I call it you call it extreme ownership, or somebody else calls it extreme ownership, and you interviewed them, and now you're using that, which is great. That's probably the hardest thing for me, is because doing the work wasn't that difficult. Even helping my teammates get their work done and watching other people's videos, that's not hard. What's hard is doing the minimum amount to go green on the account doc isn't going to translate into a success. The only thing that's going to make me successful is what I do above and beyond what Brian Rose is pushing me to do. Because you can't take me that last mile. That's on me. And I realize that, and I'm aware of that. And I'm also aware that I wouldn't even have gotten that first mile if it wasn't for you. So that's why I'm so psyched to be here. I mean, this is great. I mean, just being here, having this conversation, I mean, I don't even need to talk about my business. I just want to have a conversation with you, and I'll be happy.
What's it like meeting these people in person?
Oh, it's great. Meeting these people in person, it's almost like we all kind of know each other because we've seen each other, we've talked to each other, we're in the group Zoom calls, and now seeing each other face to face, touching people, hugging people, having a more personal connection, that's an amazing experience. And the things that you talk about, so it's just for the audience. The things that you talk about, people are like, yeah. You're going to build these lifelong connections, and you're going to form these joint ventures that could become $1 million partnerships. And you say it happens, but in the end, you're selling something. So I'm not selling anything, and what I want to do is I want to tell your audience that it does happen, right? It may not happen to me, or it may happen to me, but that's irrelevant because I can see the connections around me. It's just the energy and the vibe that you talk about vibe all the time, right? And that vibe is, it's there. It's there. As an entrepreneur, working by yourself, it's lonely, right? So I paid for an office I didn't need at WeWork just to be with other like-minded people. But we were all on different journeys. We were all on different meetings. So I would have to host events, cater lunch or cater dinner just to get people to come chat with me, right? Mm-hmm. So with something like what you've put together, it's like you join this tribe and you join this community, and everybody, even though they come from such diverse backgrounds, everybody's on a similar mission. So it's easier to find where and how people should connect. Whereas if you're just finding people that you may want to interview and then you start following them and then you send them an email and you do this, you triangulate how you want to connect with them, those initial connections aren't very real. Mm-hmm. It's just like, okay, yeah, he may have some value, then you have to build that relationship over time, right? This accelerates that. Now, none of these people may be famous now, but who knows? There's a couple of people here that are already like #1 on their category in iTunes, right? Robert Bruce could be famous. He could be a Brian Roser or Gary Vee in 3 years. Who knows?
Yeah, it's
right?
exciting, right?
Yeah,
And same with you.
Yeah. So
and so tell me, what does your show look like in 12 months? What's going on? What's the vibe? What are you doing? What does it feel like?
Well, one of the things that I discovered, so I'm going to keep on doing shows and interviewing people because that's great for building relationships, having a platform of value that you can offer to other people. So obviously, I'm going to get better at that. One of the things that I've decided recently is my podcast used to just be called the China Leadership Dilemma Podcast. And I would make these promotional images that would get repurposed. They would go out to my YouTube channel and stuff like that. But it never mentioned me because I wanted to make the show about my guests. So even when I promoted it and when I did the introduction, hey, welcome to the China Leadership Dilemma Podcast, I didn't even say my name, right? Sounds
like me.
Yeah, so what I've decided that since I am an influencer and thought leader in my niche, that's what I need to start branding.
Good.
So now I'm going to start introducing myself as Gene Shu and start really focusing on the value that I can deliver. So this is why this is great, because one of the things that I always also realized is it's a more interesting show when I am being interviewed. And for my audience, the things that I talk about when other people are interviewing me is much more valuable for them, right? So through this thing where you talk about joint ventures, I've been on 8 podcasts already. And now I have enough content for the next 3 to 6 months, because now it's chopping it up, right? It's chopping up the content. When I get asked certain questions, I can talk about something that's related to what I do or what I help people do in China,
nice.
Right? And now I'm just chopping it up, repurposing it, and then I can send out these shorter clips on iTunes, on YouTube, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's I have enough content to last me 6 months now.
You're on fire, Gene.
Yeah.
How has Gene himself changed? Like if we walked out on the street right now and bumped into the Gene that hadn't taken this course, how is that guy different than the one I'm talking to now?
Well, I try to be pretty consistent, and I try to keep the highs not so high and the lows not too low. So the only thing that I would say is different is when people used to, when I had to introduce myself, it's like, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a China business advisor and consultant. Now, I just say I'm a broadcaster. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, I launched a podcast on iTunes, so now I'm a broadcaster. And then that's kind of like the icebreaker that gets into the conversation. So what's your podcast about? So instead of saying, I'm a China business advisor and consultant, I help leaders develop these essential soft skills to navigate the complexities of doing business in China, I just now say, well, I'm a podcaster or I'm a broadcaster. And then once I explain what my podcast is, then they know what I do. And it's a better way of selling yourself without selling yourself, right? Because it's people asking you, well, what's that? Instead of you saying, this is what I am, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So that's all. I didn't realize that. In fact, I didn't even realize that until you just asked me.
That's a hook, as we would say.
Yeah.
That means they're like, oh, wow, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, that's nice.
Right. So these are subtleties and nuances that people don't realize how important they are. It's like having people's attention. You have people's attention for like 3 seconds, right? And if the first thing that comes out of your mouth is appears that you're trying to sell something or market yourself, then you're going to lose 90% of the attention right off the bat, right? But now I just say, well, I'm a broadcaster. Then I have at least another 10 seconds of attention, which is awesome.
That's what it's all about. To someone who's watching us, who's on the fence, doesn't know whether they should join this course or not, what would you tell them?
Well, that's an obvious answer. But the way that I would really answer that question is, before you get sold on all these things that we're talking about, I always tell people that you really have to find out, is this for you? Which means you have to go deeper, right? So I advise and mentor a lot of people to begin with. And for people who are at a certain stage, whether it's in their entrepreneurial careers or building a following or becoming a thought leader or becoming an influencer, absolutely, I've recommended your course to a lot of people already.
Oh, wow.
But my real honest advice would be, you really have to understand how this fits into who you are, right? Because before you do anything, you have to know who you are and where you want to go, right? So for me, it was easy to pull the trigger because my orientation is clear. London Real didn't change my destination. It just helped me get there faster. And if you're in that similar situation, it's definitely, well, the thing is, you have so much free stuff, right? Just do one of Brian's free workshops or free challenges. Get a taste of it. And once you get a taste of it, and you open your mind to the possibilities of not just what you're going to learn, but what you're going to experience, then I think you'll find that it's definitely worth the time. I mean, it's not even the money. It's really the time, right? You're asking for a lot of my time. I charge $500 an hour for coaching, right? So I actually paid you more in time than I paid you in money, right? But in the macro, it was one of the best investments that I made since coming back to the U.S.
Gene, it was amazing having you on this course. I look forward to talking with you, and I still remember this epic conversation we had about that interview that you had with someone that, he'd come in, he was jet lagged and all this, and you just made it happen, and it just looked like it changed your life. It looked like you had this incredible human connection, business connection, I don't know, a beautiful moment, and it was the epitome of what we're trying to teach here, for people to cherish those things. And it was just great, and I loved having your energy on this course, and everybody else did. And so, and I really appreciate you telling me feedback as far as what it's like to experience it from someone like you who's been around the block.
Yes.
Done business in all of these places. And also, in your situation, where you're coming back to America, trying to find the thing that can accelerate you to where you're going to go. And,
absolutely.
And this is such a great fit for you, and I'm so glad we found you,
Well, I mean, it's obviously mutual. And like you always said, the journey's just begun, right? And I think you've given me a great step forward to ultimately reach where I want to get to. And I want to thank you. So this has been awesome.
It's my pleasure, man. Let's do some big things, shall we?
All right.
All right, Gene.
Sounds
Thanks
great.
so much, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, man.
Yep.
Good.
All right.
We're good, man. Cool. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
London Real doesn't stop when the conversation ends. You see, that's when we get started. Because everything begins with a thought, and then comes the action. The London Real Academy is our global transformation platform. Here we bring together thousands of students from over 75 countries. Whether you want to build a profitable business from your passion, or learn to speak to inspire, or broadcast yourself with your very own podcast, or accelerate your life to become a high-performance person, we have the online accountability course and personal mentoring program that will make your dream a reality. Join us, and we'll take your life to the next level together. Our next accelerator course is starting soon.